The dark truth of Los Angeles, once a shimmering mirage of endless summer and boundless opportunity, now casts a long shadow, revealing 10 critical problems that authorities keep talking about yet never seem to solve. This city, a golden beacon on the western edge of the American dream, was a place where aspirations gleamed as brightly as the Pacific sun, a global hub of influence and wealth. Once it was paradise, a canvas for every dream imaginable, but now a creeping chaos seems to grip its very soul. Why did this city collapse so fast, transforming from an icon of prosperity into a profound cautionary tale? Beneath the dazzling, iconic facade, an unsettling truth hides. A complex interplay of bureaucratic inertia, political gridlock, historical neglect, and powerful socio-economic forces that conspire to keep its most critical issues firmly entrenched, defying easy answers and comprehensive resolution. We are about to peel back those layers, to expose the mechanisms that perpetuate these dilemmas, and what we uncover might just shatter your perception of the City of Angels forever. We all remember the Golden Age, when Los Angeles was the epitome of progress, a place where innovation flourished and cultural movements were born. The very air hummed with possibility, drawing millions to its sun-drenched boulevards, promising a future brighter than any star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It was a city that built itself on dreams, brick by gilded brick, a testament to what humanity could achieve when fueled by ambition and the promise of a better life. The magic of Los Angeles wasn't just in its movies or its music, it was in the feeling that anything was possible, that success was just around the corner, waiting for those brave enough to reach for it. This was a city that felt alive, vibrant, connected, a place where the pursuit of happiness was not just a right, but a tangible reality for so many. But then, something shifted. A subtle, insidious change began to ripple through its foundations, a rupture in the very fabric of its existence. The pursuit of dreams began to morph into something darker, something driven by greed and a relentless push for profit that seemed to eclipse the well-being of its people. We started to see it, slowly at first, in the rising cost of living, in the widening gaps between the haves and have-nots. The city's soul, once so vibrant and inclusive, seemed to contract, becoming an exclusive club for the ultra-wealthy, leaving countless others stranded in its wake. The promise of the American dream, once so robust in this city, began to shatter for families who had called it home for generations. A global city, a hub of influence and wealth, teetering on the precipice, its very heart struggling under the weight of its own success. This is not about finger-pointing. It's about understanding the profound implications when a city, a global powerhouse of culture and commerce, grapples with a housing catastrophe so severe it pushes entire communities into homelessness. The numbers are stark, a chilling testament to a crisis that has spiraled beyond control. According to recent reports from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, over 75,000 people are experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles County alone, a number that has swelled by nearly 10% in just 1 year. This isn't merely a statistic. It represents 75,000 individual stories of shattered lives, of families torn apart, of children growing up without the basic dignity of a roof over their heads. These are not just abstract figures. These are human beings, living in tents, in vehicles, under overpasses, their dreams replaced by the daily struggle for survival. We've all seen the tent cities proliferate, stretching for blocks, a visible scar on the landscape of what was once considered the epitome of luxury and aspiration. The evidence is undeniable, painted across the city's sidewalks and underpasses, a silent scream of despair that echoes through its glittering avenues. You've felt this too, haven't you? That knot in your stomach as you drive past another encampment. That pang of empathy for the human cost of a system that seems to have abandoned its most vulnerable. We all remember the days when such sights were rare, confined to the darkest corners, not sprawled across the main thoroughfares. What does it truly signify when a city, a global powerhouse of culture and commerce, grapples with a housing catastrophe so severe it pushes entire communities into homelessness, shattering the very notion of the American dream for countless families? It's a question that haunts us, a moral dilemma that gnaws at the conscience of anyone who believes in a just society. But wait until you see what came next, how this crisis of housing intertwines with another, equally devastating problem, one that threatens the very air Angelenos breathe. We once looked up at skies painted in hues of endless blue, a symbol of the Californian dream, a vast open canvas above a city brimming with possibility. The air, crisp and invigorating, carried the faint, sweet scent of eucalyptus from the canyons and the bracing tang of ocean spray from the coast, inviting us outdoors, promising vitality, health, and limitless adventure. This was the Los Angeles of countless postcards and cinematic dreams, where the sun always shone with a benevolent warmth and the horizon stretched, clear and inviting, towards distant, majestic mountains. Children played freely in parks and on sun-drenched beaches, breathing deeply of the supposedly clean air, their innocent laughter carried on gentle, unburdened breezes. It was a promise of purity, a natural complement to the vibrant, ceaseless energy of the city, a place where the pursuit of physical well-being was as intrinsic and natural as the pursuit of fame and fortune. The magic wasn't solely confined to its dazzling entertainment industry or its cultural innovations. It was deeply embedded in the very atmosphere, a pervasive feeling of boundless, clean possibility that made everything seem achievable. But then, the relentless, unstoppable march of progress, of unchecked urban expansion and industrial growth began to subtly, insidiously choke that very magic. The once familiar golden haze that gracefully softened the sunsets slowly, almost imperceptibly, transformed into something far more sinister, a thick, suffocating blanket of smog, a haze of despair. The very air, once a life-giving source, became a silent, omnipresent adversary, heavy and acrid with the exhaust of millions upon millions of cars, the ceaseless emissions from its bustling, gargantuan ports, and the relentless industrial hum of countless factories that lined its periphery. The sheer, unprecedented scale of development, driven by an insatiable, often short-sighted desire for rapid growth and immediate profit, inadvertently laid the devastating groundwork for an environmental catastrophe of epic proportions, a true betrayal of its natural splendor. The clear, expansive horizons became a painful, distant memory, replaced by a murky, persistent veil that not only obscured the city's iconic landmarks, but, more tragically, began to profoundly threaten the fundamental well-being of its 10 million inhabitants. This wasn't merely a superficial change in scenery. It was a profound, systemic rupture in the city's most basic promise of a healthy, breathable existence. A direct consequence of unchecked ambition and a collective, almost willful turning away from the severe environmental costs of prosperity. The very soul of the city, once so vibrant and open, felt increasingly constrained, constantly gasping for breath under a sky that grew visibly heavier, denser, and more toxic with each passing year. The statistics, cold and unyielding, paint an undeniably grim picture, confirming with chilling precision what our eyes and lungs have already instinctively told us. According to the authoritative American Lung Association's annual State of the Air report, the Los Angeles metropolitan area consistently ranks among the most dangerously polluted cities in the entire United States for both ground-level ozone and fine particle pollution. For far too many years, residents have been forced to endure hundreds of days annually where the official air quality index registers as unhealthy for sensitive groups, and often, alarmingly, for everyone. This isn't just a minor inconvenience or a trivial matter of comfort. It represents a profound, ongoing public health emergency that affects every demographic.
Groundbreaking studies from the prestigious University of Southern California have meticulously linked chronic, long-term exposure to Los Angeles's notoriously poor air quality to significantly increased rates of childhood asthma, higher risks of debilitating heart disease, and even premature death among the adult population, impacting lifespans and quality of life across the board. We are talking about microscopic particles, invisible killers that insidiously permeate our homes, our schools, our workplaces, and ultimately our very bodies, silently and relentlessly eroding our health from within, year after year. The official reports from the South Coast Air Quality Management District are filled with staggering numbers. Millions of tons of harmful pollutants released annually, consistently exceeding federal clean air standards by wide and dangerous margins, despite decades of supposed regulatory efforts and countless public awareness campaigns.
The evidence is irrefutable, tragically etched into the very fabric of our lungs and the health records of an entire population, a silent but screaming testament to the ongoing, seemingly unwinnable struggle against an invisible enemy that authorities keep talking about, yet never seem to truly conquer. You've felt this too, haven't you? That distinct, irritating burn in your throat on a particularly bad air day, that persistent, nagging cough that stubbornly refuses to dissipate, the perpetually hazy, muted view from your window that instinctively tells you it's probably safer to just stay inside. We all remember those ominous warnings frequently broadcast on the local news, advising us to severely limit outdoor activities, especially for our vulnerable children and the elderly. It's a constant, low-grade anxiety, a pervasive sense of unease, knowing that with every single breath you take, you might be inhaling something profoundly harmful, something that could slowly diminish your health and the health of your loved ones. What does it truly signify? What profound moral implications arise when a city, a global powerhouse of culture and commerce, struggles so demonstrably to provide its hardworking citizens with the most basic, fundamental necessity: clean, breathable air? It's a question that lingers in the mind, a profound moral challenge that cuts directly to the core of what it genuinely means to live in a modern, supposedly advanced metropolis. But even as we grapple with the compromised quality of the very air we breathe, another equally insidious and deeply systemic problem has been silently escalating for years. One that now directly threatens the very ground beneath our feet and the fundamental safety of our daily commutes. We once marveled at the sheer audacity of Los Angeles's infrastructure, a sprawling, intricate web of freeways that promised boundless connection and effortless movement. These weren't just roads, they were arteries of aspiration, concrete ribbons stretching across vast landscapes, symbols of human ingenuity conquering distance. The city moved with a vibrant, almost balletic grace, its traffic flowing, its public works a testament to a future-forward vision. Bridges stood strong and proud, monuments to engineering prowess, seamlessly linking communities and facilitating the booming economy that made Los Angeles a global powerhouse. We remember feeling a sense of pride, of effortless progress, as we navigated this meticulously planned urban tapestry, a city built to move, to grow, to thrive. The magic was in the smooth journey, the sense of possibility that came with being able to traverse such a grand metropolis with relative ease, connecting dreams to reality, one well-maintained mile at a time. It was the backbone of a vibrant life, taken for granted, a silent promise of efficiency and safety. But that promise, like so many others, began to fray. Decades of chronic underinvestment, of reactive rather than proactive maintenance, slowly but inexorably eroded the very foundations of this once proud system. The gleaming concrete ribbons became scarred, pockmarked with potholes and riddled with cracks, transforming effortless movement into a daily, grinding battle. The once efficient freeways, symbols of progress, metastasized into infamous labyrinths of gridlock, swallowing hours of precious time and fueling a collective, simmering frustration. Bridges, once symbols of strength, now whisper tales of age and neglect, their steel and concrete groaning under the relentless weight of millions of vehicles, their integrity increasingly questioned. Public transit, meant to offer an alternative, struggles to keep pace, plagued by delays, overcrowded routes, and a perceived lack of safety that deters many. The magic of smooth, reliable transit has vanished, replaced by a pervasive sense of decay, an almost palpable exhaustion that clings to every rush hour, every bumpy ride. The city's soul, once defined by its seamless connectivity, now feels fractured, choked, and perpetually stuck, unable to move forward, literally and metaphorically. This isn't just about inconvenience. It's about a fundamental breakdown in the arteries that keep a global city alive. The numbers are stark, echoing the frustration we all feel stuck in traffic. The American Society of Civil Engineers, in its most recent infrastructure report card, consistently assigns California's infrastructure, and Los Angeles's in particular, abysmal grades, often hovering in the D range for roads and transit. This isn't just a subjective assessment, it's a damning indictment based on rigorous engineering standards and critical indicators of structural integrity and functional capacity. We're talking about an estimated backlog of billions of dollars in deferred maintenance for roads and bridges across the county, a debt that grows exponentially with each passing year. Data from traffic analytics firms like INRIX routinely rank Los Angeles as one of the most congested cities in the entire world, with drivers losing hundreds of hours annually to gridlock, a staggering economic drain calculated in the tens of billions of dollars. Public transit ridership, despite significant investments in some areas, has struggled to rebound to pre-pandemic levels, partly due to perceptions of unreliability and safety concerns highlighted in numerous local news investigations and rider surveys. Reports from the Los Angeles Department of Transportation detail thousands of critical infrastructure repair requests filed each month, many waiting indefinitely for funding and resources. The evidence is all around us, in the cracked pavement that jars our vehicles, in the endless construction cones that seem to accomplish little, and in the exasperated sighs of commuters trapped in an endless loop of delay. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a systemic failure, a quiet collapse happening in plain sight. You felt this too, haven't you? That primal surge of anger as you hit yet another bone-jarring pothole. The slow, simmering despair of watching the minutes tick away, trapped in bumper-to-bumper traffic when you should be home with your family. We all remember that feeling of dread crossing an overpass, wondering if it's truly safe, if the years of neglect have finally taken their toll. The collective sigh we share on public transport when an announcement of yet another delay echoes through the car, shattering our already fragile schedules. It's a constant, low-grade assault on our patience, our time, and our peace of mind, a daily reminder that the city we love is struggling to hold itself together. What does it truly signify when a city, a global powerhouse of technological innovation and artistic expression, must contend with an infrastructure teetering on the brink of collapse, or a public safety landscape riddled with complexities that defy simple solutions and breed deep-seated distrust? It's a question that resonates deep within us, a nagging concern for the future of our daily lives. But this constant battle with crumbling roads isn't just an inconvenience, it's a symptom of a deeper decay, one that impacts the very safety of our communities, leading to an even more unsettling reality, a crisis of public trust and a struggle for basic security that authorities consistently talk about yet rarely seem to address head-on. The dark truth of Los Angeles once epitomized the promise of urban living, where safety was a given, a foundational pillar upon which vibrant communities were built. We remember neighborhoods where children played freely until dusk, where doors were left unlocked, and where a sense of collective guardianship permeated the very air. The sight of a police officer evoked a feeling of reassurance, a symbol of order and protection, an unwavering presence dedicated to upholding the peace. This was a city where the rule of law was not merely an abstract concept, but a tangible, visible force, ensuring that the sprawling metropolis, with all its diverse dreams and aspirations, could flourish without the constant shadow of fear. The magic was in the freedom to pursue life, liberty, and happiness without looking over your shoulder. In the unspoken covenant between citizens and those sworn to protect them, a bond of mutual respect and shared purpose. It was a city that felt secure, a place where dreams could truly take root and grow, unburdened by the pervasive anxieties that now define so much of urban existence. But over time, that foundational pillar began to crack, eroded by a complex tapestry of socioeconomic pressures, shifting political priorities, and a growing chasm of distrust. The once reassuring presence of law enforcement gradually transformed, for many, into a source of apprehension, even fear, as incidents of unrest and perceived injustice chipped away at public confidence. Neighborhoods that once bustled with carefree activity now echo with a different kind of silence after dark, a quiet born of caution and apprehension. The simple act of walking home at night, once unremarkable, became an exercise in heightened awareness, a constant internal risk assessment. The city's vibrant tapestry, once woven with threads of shared security, began to unravel, revealing patches of vulnerability and a pervasive sense of unease. The magic of feeling safe, of belonging to a community where protection was assured, slowly faded, replaced by a gnawing worry, a constant questioning of who truly protects whom. This isn't just about crime. It's about the fundamental erosion of the social contract, the slow, painful decay of trust between citizens and the institutions meant to serve them. The numbers, unfortunately, corroborate this unsettling shift, painting a grim picture of a city grappling with a profound crisis of public safety and trust. According to the Los Angeles Police Department's own published statistics, while some categories of crime have seen fluctuations, overall violent crime rates, particularly homicides and aggravated assaults, experienced significant spikes in recent years, reaching levels not seen in over 1 decade. Property crimes, including burglaries and vehicle thefts, continue to plague residents and businesses, leaving a trail of financial loss and emotional distress. What's more, public perception surveys conducted by organizations like the Pat Brown Institute for Public Affairs consistently reveal a significant decline in residents' confidence in law enforcement, with a substantial portion of the population expressing concerns about police responsiveness, accountability, and fairness. Average response times for emergency calls, a critical indicator of public safety infrastructure, have reportedly lengthened in many areas, leaving citizens feeling exposed and unprotected in moments of crisis. Local news reports frequently highlight instances of brazen daylight robberies and smash-and-grab incidents that underscore a perceived lack of deterrence and effective policing. The evidence is not just in the official reports. It's in the locked doors, the security cameras on every corner, the neighborhood watch groups forming out of desperation, and the countless conversations on social media where fear and frustration are palpable. This isn't just a matter of statistics. It's a lived reality, a constant state of anxiety for millions. You felt this too, haven't you? That sudden jolt of alarm when you hear sirens wailing in your neighborhood, or the quickening of your pulse when you check the local news and see another story of violence too close to home. We all remember the days when we didn't have to worry about packages being stolen from our doorsteps, or the constant need to double-check locks and car alarms. That nagging concern for your children's safety as they walk to school, or the uneasy feeling when you see someone openly struggling on the streets, unsure whether to offer help or to keep your distance out of fear. It's a subtle but pervasive sense of vulnerability that chips away at our peace of mind, making us question the very fabric of the city we call home. What does it truly signify when a city, a global powerhouse of culture and commerce, struggles to ensure the basic security of its citizens, breeding deep-seated distrust and a pervasive sense of unease? It's a question that echoes in the quiet moments, a moral quandary that impacts our daily lives and our collective future. But this erosion of trust and the struggle for safety aren't just isolated problems. They are deeply intertwined with another insidious issue, one that silently preys on the most vulnerable, creating a cycle of despair that authorities seem powerless to break. Once, Los Angeles was seen as a haven for self-reinvention, a place where one could shed old skins and embrace new beginnings. It was a magnet for those seeking not just fame and fortune, but also personal growth, spiritual enlightenment, and a vibrant community of like-minded individuals. The city's sun-drenched canyons and serene beaches offered a backdrop for introspection and healing, a space where the pursuit of well-being was as celebrated as any blockbuster premiere. Therapies, wellness retreats, and alternative lifestyles flourished, promising pathways to inner peace and resilience. The magic was in the belief that here, amidst the endless possibilities, you could truly find yourself, mend what was broken, and emerge stronger, surrounded by a supportive, forward-thinking spirit. It was a place where human connection, even amidst the glitz, felt tangible, a shared journey towards a better self. But beneath the surface of this shimmering promise, a darker current began to flow, quietly eroding the city's capacity for collective well-being. The very pressures that once fueled ambition, the relentless competition, the crushing cost of living, the isolation of a sprawling metropolis began to take an insidious toll on the human spirit. The pursuit of dreams, once a source of inspiration, transformed into a relentless, often lonely struggle, amplifying anxieties and despair. Mental health support, once a niche, became an urgent, widespread need, yet access to it remained a luxury for many. The streets, once filled with vibrant dreamers, now bear witness to an increasing number of individuals openly battling severe mental illness and addiction, their struggles often ignored or criminalized. The echo of shared purpose and community support, once so strong, faded, replaced by a sense of individual struggle against overwhelming odds. The magic of healing and hope seemed to vanish, leaving behind a profound emptiness, a cycle of despair that authorities keep talking about yet never truly seem to mend. The statistics paint a harrowing picture of a city in crisis, a silent epidemic unfolding in plain sight. According to the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, 1 in 5 adults experiences a mental illness in any given year, and a significant percentage of the homeless population struggles with severe mental health conditions, often compounded by substance abuse. The opioid crisis, while national, has left its devastating mark on Los Angeles, with overdose deaths continuing to rise, claiming thousands of lives annually, according to data from the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. Access to adequate mental health care remains a critical challenge, with long waiting lists for services and a severe shortage of affordable treatment options. Reports from local hospitals and emergency rooms frequently cite an overwhelming influx of patients presenting with acute mental health crises, straining an already overburdened system to its breaking point. We are talking about human lives, families shattered, futures lost, all under the shadow of a system struggling to cope with the sheer scale of suffering. The evidence is etched into the faces of those we pass on the street, in the growing number of calls to crisis hotlines, and in the tragic headlines that speak of lives cut short by despair. You've felt this too, haven't you? That uncomfortable glance away when you see someone talking to themselves on the bus, or the quiet ache in your chest watching a person openly suffering on the sidewalk, unsure how to help, or even if you should. We all remember when mental health conversations were whispered, hidden away. But now, the pain is visible, undeniable, a constant reminder of a collective failure. What does it truly signify when a city, a global powerhouse of culture and commerce, struggles to protect the mental well-being of its most vulnerable citizens, allowing a cycle of despair and addiction to deepen while solutions remain elusive? It's a question that weighs heavily on our collective conscience, a moral imperative that demands more than just talk. But this silent struggle for mental well-being and the fight against addiction are not isolated battles. They are symptoms of a much larger, more pervasive problem, one that threatens the very economic fabric of Los Angeles, pushing the dream further out of reach for millions. Once, Los Angeles was the quintessential land of opportunity, a place where ambition was rewarded and hard work could genuinely translate into upward mobility. It was a city that celebrated the immigrant dream, where families arrived with little, yet through sheer grit and determination, built thriving businesses, owned homes, and secured a prosperous future for their children. The promise of a middle-class life, even a comfortable one, was not a distant fantasy, but an attainable reality for countless individuals across diverse industries, from the bustling port to the burgeoning tech scene. The magic was in the belief that anyone, regardless of their background, could carve out a successful life here, a testament to the American dream in its purest form, a city where prosperity felt within reach for all who dared to strive. But that golden promise, once so vibrant and inclusive, has fractured, giving way to a stark and increasingly unbridgeable divide. The relentless pursuit of profit, coupled with an unchecked rise in the cost of living, has created a two-tiered society where the ultra-wealthy thrive amidst a sea of struggling working-class families and a vanishing middle class. The wages, once sufficient to sustain a comfortable life, have stagnated, failing to keep pace with the skyrocketing expenses of housing, transportation, and basic necessities. The dream of home ownership, once a cornerstone of stability, has become an impossible fantasy for generations of Angelenos, pushing them further to the periphery of the city they call home. The city's soul, once defined by its broad opportunities, now feels increasingly exclusive, its doors closing to all but the most privileged. This isn't just about economic disparity, it's about a profound moral rupture, a betrayal of the fundamental promise that hard work would lead to a better life. You've felt this too, haven't you? That uncomfortable glance away when you see someone talking to themselves on the bus, or the quiet ache in your chest watching a person openly suffering on the sidewalk, unsure how to help, or even if you should. We all remember when mental health conversations were whispered, hidden away. But now, the pain is visible, undeniable, a constant reminder of a collective failure. What does it truly signify when a city, a global powerhouse of culture and commerce, struggles to protect the mental well-being of its most vulnerable citizens, allowing a cycle of despair and addiction to deepen while solutions remain elusive? It's a question that weighs heavily on our collective conscience, a moral imperative that demands more than just talk. But this silent struggle for mental well-being and the fight against addiction are not isolated battles. They are symptoms of a much larger, more pervasive problem, one that threatens the very economic fabric of Los Angeles, pushing the dream further out of reach for millions. Once, Los Angeles was the quintessential land of opportunity, a place where ambition was rewarded and hard work could genuinely translate into upward mobility. It was a city that celebrated the immigrant dream, where families arrived with little, yet through sheer grit and determination, built thriving businesses, owned homes, and secured a prosperous future for their children. The promise of a middle-class life, even a comfortable one, was not a distant fantasy, but an attainable reality for countless individuals across diverse industries, from the bustling port to the burgeoning tech scene. The magic was in the belief that anyone, regardless of their background, could carve out a successful life here, a testament to the American dream in its purest form, a city where prosperity felt within reach for all who dared to strive. But that golden promise, once so vibrant and inclusive, has fractured, giving way to a stark and increasingly unbridgeable divide. The relentless pursuit of profit, coupled with an unchecked rise in the cost of living, has created a two-tiered society, where the ultra-wealthy thrive amidst a sea of struggling working-class families and a vanishing middle class. The wages, once sufficient to sustain a comfortable life, have stagnated, failing to keep pace with the skyrocketing expenses of housing, transportation, and basic necessities. The dream of homeownership, once a cornerstone of stability, has become an impossible fantasy for generations of Angelenos, pushing them further to the periphery of the city they call home. The city's soul, once defined by its broad opportunities, now feels increasingly exclusive, its doors closing to all but the most privileged. This isn't just about economic disparity. It's about a profound moral rupture, a betrayal of the fundamental promise that hard work would lead to a better life. The statistics paint a sobering portrait of a city where economic mobility is increasingly out of reach. According to reports from the California Budget and Policy Center, the income gap between the richest and poorest residents of Los Angeles County has widened significantly over the past 2 decades, with the top 10% earning more than 12 times what the bottom 10% earn. Data from the Economic Policy Institute indicates that real wages for many working-class Angelenos have barely budged for years, while the median home price in Los Angeles County has soared to over $800,000, making home ownership unattainable for the vast majority of residents. Studies from the USC Equity Research Institute reveal that nearly half of all households in Los Angeles County are rent-burdened, spending more than 30% of their income on housing. We see the evidence in the increasing number of families working multiple jobs just to stay afloat, in the visible signs of poverty juxtaposed against unimaginable wealth, and in the exodus of middle-class families seeking affordability elsewhere. This isn't just about numbers, it's about shattered aspirations and a fundamental questioning of the city's economic fairness. You've felt this too, haven't you? That constant pressure to make ends meet, the frustration of watching prices climb while your paycheck stays stagnant. We all remember the stories of people moving to Los Angeles with nothing and building an empire, and now it feels like you need an empire just to afford to live here. That quiet fear for your children's future, wondering if they'll ever be able to afford a home in the city they grew up in. What does it truly signify when a city, a global powerhouse of culture and commerce, allows its economic landscape to become so profoundly unequal, systematically pushing the American dream out of reach for millions? It's a question that gnaws at the very core of our values. But this struggle for economic survival isn't just a personal battle. It's intricately linked to a much larger systemic challenge, one that threatens the very foundation of the city's most precious resource: water. Los Angeles, a city born from a desert, achieved the impossible through sheer will and engineering marvel. We built aqueducts, diverted rivers, and transformed an arid landscape into a lush green paradise. This was a testament to human ingenuity, a bold declaration that even nature could be bent to the will of progress. Our pools shimmered, our lawns were perpetually green, and the very act of turning on a tap felt like a celebration of abundance, a triumph over the limits of geography. It was a golden age of seemingly endless resources, where water flowed freely, a symbol of prosperity, and the relentless pursuit of